Breakdown.
What's up guys, Sean16 here, and today I want to talk about my favorite childhood game series from the days of the PlayStation 2, Thrill-Ville, and how there should be a Thrill-Ville 3 or some kind of reboot for the series, and what the story and gameplay would be like if it was ever made. This is my first video game ideas video that I've done ever since 2013, as I went on to spend the next 5 years making WWE 2K idea videos and nothing else. But this video is special for me to do because Thrill-Ville is a game I grew up playing, a game I spent hours playing almost every day as a kid, a game I wondered about for the last decade on a potential third installment. I've always wanted to make a Thrill-Ville video on this channel, especially 2 years ago as a tribute to a Thrill-Ville video I did 12 years prior, which is on my older sister's old YouTube channel, but I missed the deadline and at one point got caught up with WWE 2K19 ideas and gaming walkthroughs. So finally I'm making this video, and I'm very excited to do this because, like I said, Thrill-Ville was and still is my favorite PS2 game of all time, especially its sequel, Thrill-Ville-Off-The-Rails. So if you're not familiar with Thrill-Ville, it's an open world third-person tycoon-like simulator game where you, the player, run a theme park called Thrill-Ville as you play as the park manager. You got to build and ride your own roller coasters, play tons of mini games, and socialize with the guests. But apart from the objective of having fun, the story would be to beat a rival theme park called Global Joy that would try to sabotage Thrill-Ville, but in the end, you win, yada yada yada, the rest is history. It's been 14 years since the release of the original Thrill-Ville. As for its sequel, it has been 12 years. I feel like after all that time, as I spent the last 11 years wondering, shouldn't there have been a Thrill-Ville 3, at least one more game in the series? Sure, the second game was off the rails, pun intended, of expectations, don't get me wrong, but it feels like the game could have gone somewhere higher with bigger ideas in mind. I just feel like there should have been one more game. In today's modern era of video games, where certain games considered fan favorites make a comeback by reboots or sequels, I feel like Thrill-Ville deserves its place. It may not be as popular or as well known as a Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, but Thrill-Ville had a lot to offer during its time, and a third installment or even a reboot to the series wouldn't be a greater time on expanding on its truest potential, especially for the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, as they provide bigger space in developing games than its predecessors of the PS2 and Xbox. Then again, we're almost at the end of these consoles generation, as the PS5 and the Xbox, I don't follow Xbox. So the next Xbox, holiday of 2020. Since we're almost at the end of the PS4 and Xbox One, excluding the Switch, maybe the newest generation of consoles coming soon could play a factor. Now, I know LucasArts shut down when Lucasfilms were bought out by Walt Disney, but from what I've seen in the last 5 years, Frontier Developments, the ones that made Thrill-Ville, are still alive and kicking, and I would like them to bring back Thrill-Ville. But seeing that they're busy with a similar Thrill-Ville game called Planet Coaster, and most recently, Planet Zoo, I believe, it's hard to see if there would be another Thrill-Ville in our midst. But anything is possible in the gaming industry. I really hope to see Frontier be the ones to make Thrill-Ville 3, and unlike Off the Rails in some areas of the game, take all the time needed without rushing to make the game better than its predecessors. Seeing how Planet Coaster looks, it looks great, but I'll never see it as a Thrill-Ville spin-off, sequel, prequel, or whatever you want to call it, even if it's not related to Thrill-Ville at all. It doesn't have what Thrill-Ville was all about, apart from creating coasters and managing the park. The game is more like the SimCity version of Thrill-Ville. Maybe if Thrill-Ville 3 was a thing, maybe Frontier can apply the same engine from Planet Coaster in terms of graphics and mechanics to Thrill-Ville. So for Thrill-Ville 3, it has to be something that conjoins all the issues of the first game and the sequel in terms of story and gameplay features. Now, for a PS2 title, the story sort of lacked in both games, especially when we knew the situation and objective, to stop Global Joy from ruining Thrill-Ville. But nothing really felt was on the line, like Thrill-Ville still had guest attendance, no increase or decrease in that factor. They were still riding coasters and playing minigames. They wouldn't leave. Now, they could say something negatively about the park in terms of bathrooms and broken rides, but it wouldn't really affect the role of being a park manager or the park in general. And the gameplay at times would be clunky and odd, especially when transferring from one spot in the park to another by running through the tunnels without load times, and the park isn't done rendering, or when off-the-rail coaster rides would send you through invisible game walls and underneath the map while parachuting down. Yeah, the games had their flaws, but I still play it to this day. But I feel like Thrill-Ville 3 would be the savior of the series of fixing those issues and more. Now, in terms of story, there should be a time jump, taking place several years or even a decade at this point after the events of Thrill-Ville-Off-The-Rails, where the ending, spoilers, had you confront the secret Global Joy agent / traitor, Baron Garrison Jr., who went under the cover as Tim Twinklefingers, and it's hard not to laugh at that fact that was the best undercover name you could go under. Ever tried Michael DeSanta? But Garrison Jr. said Global Joy will return to take down Thrill-Ville. Now, in Thrill-Ville 3, the story's idea is that specific. As the years went by, the Global Joy theme park managed on taking down Thrill-Ville and became a very successful theme park in the process, forcing a foreclosure on Thrill-Ville when money, consumers, and guest attendance hit an all-time low and was demolished. In a small town, you're a shadowy silhouette character stranger who comes across the former owner of Thrill-Ville, that is Mortimer, homeless and some odd years older. A depressed Mortimer wants to rebuild Thrill-Ville but needs a lot of money and help to do it. Miraculously, as he speaks, he has and scratches a lottery ticket in which he ends up winning $1 million. With his winnings, he announces Thrill-Ville is returning, buys a wide open space, and hires a crew to rebuild Thrill-Ville, but figures he'll need someone to manage the park while he plans the designs and themes of each park's sector. So he'll ask your character to be the new park manager. Now, just a little fun fact, in the Thrill-Ville games, Mortimer is the uncle to your character, but one of Thrill-Ville's major focuses has to be the storytelling, being a fresh new take on the series unlike its predecessors. I mean, yeah, Mortimer is asking a new character to run and manage his park, a complete stranger and not his nephew or niece. Well, I feel like even when you play the previous games, you didn't feel really related to Mortimer. I mean, he has the persona of a crazy wacky uncle, but there wasn't any true interactions between your character and Mortimer. So before you're put into the open world theme park, Mortimer would ask you what each park theme and design should be, as well as what the park would be called. Basically, you name them manually or through preset name choices. So like, if you choose one sector of the park to be full of extreme stunts, featuring off-the-rail coasters, rides, and daredevil minigames, where another is a war zone featuring tanks and flying warplanes, it could be whatever theme you want it to be. So now, after setting up your theme sectors around the park, it's time to customize your character. Character creation was a lackluster in past games, but in Thrill-Ville 3, features like face and body morphing and customizing the height of your character should be added to capturing your or even someone else's likeness. New clothing styles should be parodies to real-life internet trends to give the vibe of Thrill-Ville is in a timeline of the modern era. Now, when it comes to who you want to play as with the basic preset of a little kid or a teenager, because that's how Thrill-Ville operated back in the day, you were only able to play as a little kid or a teenager, there should be an ability to either play as an adult, which I've always wondered about when I was a kid and kind of wanted to play as, or manually set your age that best suits you. Doing so will automatically affect the height and voice of your character, making puberty a factor. The character you play has a specific age group, in my opinion only just an idea, in which you don't have to agree with me on this, Little kids should be 10 to 13 years old, teenagers 14 to 17 years old, and adults are 18 plus, to the point of being or looking like an elderly person. After creating your character, Thrill-Ville opens their doors as a grand reopening, and you are sent out to explore the theme park freely, with tutorials in typical Thrill-Ville fashion, build and ride coasters, play mini-games, socialize with the guests, etc. The story will have you do objectives around the park as side missions like cleaning up spills and messes, entertain the guests with cheerleaders, or, for the first time ever, this could be added, a concert, fix broken rides as a mechanic, as well as take side quests from random guests, like minigame challenges. Doing such activities will gain you money points on putting the park in good terms and receive good reviews that could attract more guest attendance. The missions, as well as a few random guest encounters, should be more cinematic based for certain highlights / moments that could or would be a key role in the story. It shouldn't be one of those Mortimer cutscenes where he tells you how well you're doing and to watch out for global joy. No, it needs to be more than just that. The missions are to make Thrill-Ville successful and bring them back on top as the most popular theme park. Soon Global Joy will be aware of Thrill-Ville's successful return, reviving the theme park rivalry by sending out a few secret agents and its park manager, who could be Varen Garrison Jr., who would be an adult at this point, older than how he was in Off-The-Rails, since there is a time jump between then and Thrill-Ville 3. But overall, Global Joy sends some of their employees as secret agents to sabotage Thrill-Ville as a whole by spreading rumors and sabotaging rides. Basically, the same storyline from Off-The-Rails a bit, but they go one step further by disguising themselves as employees of Thrill-Ville and start harassing guests and destroying rides and games. It gets so bad that they almost succeed. The story is then shifted by these turns of events, with Mortimer giving your character permission to sneak into Global Joy, portraying as a guest to gather evidence against the theme park's wrongdoings to finally put an end to Global Joy. So I would say singing into Global Joy, another theme park, that could either be open world or probably linear for just, going over there to gather evidence. I don't know. But sounds like a cool idea. I mean, it, again, has to be different. It's a little bit like Off-The-Rails, but I want it to be different. Have more suspense, I feel that Thrill-Ville 3 could finally introduce the owner of Global Joy, who I can only imagine him as a judgmental, money-grieving, bald-headed intellectual businessman with a big mustache, big glasses, and wears a lab coat, always thinking about mathematics and science or the meaning of fun. And yeah, that's pretty much how I could really imagine him. I mean, besides being a businessman, I can imagine him being someone of a scientist, having a scientist-esque kind of look, like he's a businessman, and I don't know. It's a weird imagination of mine, but that's how I could really picture him, to be honest. What could really progress the story is by having choices. Kinda having it like the Telltale games, where the choices you make will affect the outcome of the story and possibly how it ends. Also, it would help give your character more of a personality for the story than predecessors, where you could be the nicest park manager or the meanest, but that was for only gameplay, as how you acted towards guests didn't affect the story. But choices of, would you want to be a good or bad park manager? Would you want Thrill-Ville to succeed and Global Joy to meet its end, or betray Thrill-Ville and join Global Joy? Having that type of feature ups the stakes of how you craft your story out. Making certain decisions that could make or break Thrill-Ville could show and make it more intriguing to see the pros and cons of each choice you make. Now, in terms of gameplay, it really focuses on the environment and to make Thrill-Ville the ultimate thrill ride. It should open some old and mostly new things to the game than ever before. Of course, having roller coasters go off the rails must still be a factor, because that was freaking awesome in Thrill-Ville Off-The-Rails. But The gravity motion should be more grounded and realistic as it felt in the previous game. Getting shot up in the air after a coaster crash and parachuting down wasn't as fun as it felt or looked, as it was taking forever for my character to parachute down to the ground without using the skip option, or sometimes I just glitch outside the map. There's no control of where you land or attempting to land in any particular way faster. It's very slow, and that's something to be improved on. Thrill-Ville should also add in an attraction that has not been tackled yet before by Thrill-Ville, and that's a frickin' water park. You can kick back and relax at a water park, or you can go for a swim and slide down some water slides. I mean, who doesn't enjoy being at a frickin' water park? Maybe another attraction they could add is a park related to cinemas and films. Just go into a theater and sit and watch a short film or documentary about the history of Thrill-Ville. Another thing that needs improvement is the social interaction. Now this is actually pretty funny because interacting with people in the game was like interacting with a robot. At least in the game, when interacting with a robot, it was like interacting with a robot. The people need to have a unique personality, style, and character design, as it would help them stand out more like real people like Sims 4, meaning people can be friendly, hostile, jerks, flirty, envious, laid back, any kind of personality that makes them absolutely different than others and easier to spot based on the relationship and look of the character. The social interactions should be more Sims 2 mixed in with Mass Effect base, as in past games we were pretty limited in conversations. But more options should be explored when interacting with the guests themselves. You could be friendly or jerk, be good or evil. It just goes back to the topic of choices. Speaking of which, if you would expand more of how you act around the guests, where depending on how you interacted with them, they will have a different opinion on your character. Where one group of guests could say you're very nice, but the others say you're very rude. It depends on how you present yourself. Even ones who may have not even met you will have an opinion on your character based off rumors they have heard of you being as nice of a person or just plain rude. Some guests could ignore you or even ask you if you're that type of person, nice or mean, where choices around that statement could be for you to tell them the truth or lie about it. Another thing to add in social interactions is the ability to hang out or go on dates with guests to show you're more than just a park manager, but also an average person trying to make friends or some love, as well as kind of blend in with the AI guests who always walks around in groups of friends or family, or even walking around with someone while holding hands. The game should have a day and night cycle, and I feel like it's important that it does have a day and night cycle, because in the previous games it feels like no days ever pass. It feels like it takes place on a weekend, just one day, and that's pretty much it. They're stuck there all day with no night cycle. The game needs a day and night cycle. The park should have a specific time zone from when it opens and closes, like 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. per day, taking about half an hour or so in real life for it to go from day to night in the game. The guest and yourself would feel like going home and resting after spending 15 hours at a theme park to only go back again and again and again and again. Oh, the cycle never ends. But I would say the best solution to fix what I stated before about how they were just there for an entire day in the previous games. What if it's just summertime? It's just summertime and they're just there, and but if school was in session and there's a theme park, I feel like the best solution really is just have it in summer. Just have it in the summertime. Because if school was going on, I think there would not really be any kids at a theme park if school's going on. So I would just say put it in the summertime. Theme park is the most popular thing during the summertime, hands down. What would be amazing and groundbreaking to see in a Thrill-Ville game is to make your own arcade minigames. Minigames have always played a big role, maybe not a big role, but they've been the cornerstone of the Thrill-Ville series. So why not add that idea in to give players that option? I mean, sure, we have games like Dreams PS4 that kind of acts as, playing your own mini games. You get to create your own levels in Dreams PS4. But, this is Thrill-Ville. Mini games have a special place, and so why not? Why not try to create your own mini game in Thrill-Ville? I think that would be a cool idea. So in the game, you have the story mode feature, but you can't play online in it because I do see the story mode feature be more single player based, and I think it's best if it stays that way. But there's another selective feature that I like to call Thrill-Ville Free Play. So now, Thrill-Ville Free Play isn't only a mode where you can explore Thrill-Ville freely with little tasks, but a mode that's online for you to meet up with your friends and meet new ones. And you get the ability to make your own theme park the way you want it and name it in its attractions. Building your theme park will be kinda Minecraft based, as you could build it from Thrill-Ville standard presets or start from scratch. Just like in the story mode, there is money to be made, as you can run out of money to build rides and play mini games around the park. When it comes to other players, on the other hand, quite possibly more than 20 or 30 players could be in a session. You can challenge your friends to a game or race. You can even visit other players' theme parks and ride their coasters and play their mini games, and could interact with each other the same way with the AI. Of course, there will be the general party play mode where you can get your friends over to your house. Who really does that anymore? I mean, again, I just mentioned multiplayer. No one really calls people to their house and say like, hey, I got a second controller, want to play? And yeah, nobody does that. I mean, this ain't the 2000s anymore. We're at 2020 right now. Or have family game night, which again, who really does that anymore? Who really does like family game night, like play on a console? Family game night. And I'm just speaking off scripted right now. But have family game night to play the mini games of Thrill-Ville of old and new. But I really wanted to focus on the idea of taking Thrill-Ville online. The DLC could be whatever it wants to be, just no microtransactions, please. Make sure whatever's the final game is the final game with no extra payment. But if I had to suggest anything, it would have to be new clothes and holiday themes. Like, if it's Halloween, most people, including yourself, if you want, are dressed in the spirit of Halloween. Like, you could be just dressed up in a costume. Simple as that. Thrill-Ville was a different type of video game I've ever played as a kid. I strongly feel there should be a Thrill-Ville 3 or a reboot to the series if Frontier were to take the right amount of time to make the game. So I hope you enjoyed my Thrill-Ville 3 ideas, and if you did, smash that like button, comment your suggestions of what you would like to see if Thrill-Ville 3 was ever a thing, subscribe, look me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and as always, I will see you next time.
Hasta más